Welcome to a brand new Goal Hanger video. Today I'm going to be predicting the Championship. I'm just going to get straight into it now. Let's start off with the predictions. Coming in at bottom of the league, 24th, I am predicting Barnsley. They seem to be a yo-yo team. They come up from League One, but then don't seem to have the quality to do it in the Championship. They did well to survive last season. I think they beat Brentford last game of the season and survived, but I think they'll go down this season. Coming in at 23rd is Rotherham. The same sort of story with Barnsley, in my opinion. They're a yo-yo club. They're too good for League One, but don't seem to have the quality in the Championship. And Rotherham at the minute, in the last few years, seem to be up and down from Championship and League One. But Rotherham do seem to get some decent results. Derby, we can never seem to beat Rotherham at the New York Stadium. So hopefully they don't pick up points against us this season. Now the final relegation place that I'm predicting is Luton Town. Now I know Nathan Jones, he is very successful with Luton. They do very well under him. But I just think this season it's going to be a step too far and they're going to get found out. They've got a couple of decent players in there, but I don't think they'll be able to do it this season. Now coming in just outside the relegation zone in 21st position, I'm predicting Sheffield Wednesday. Now obviously they do start off with a minus 12 points. Obviously they've got a points deduction and they've got to start off with that. But I think they'll do it in some fantastic way. It'll be like last game of the season and they'll win and they'll survive and it'll be some great scenes there. Now coming in 20th, I've predicted QPR. Now this will be a bit of a shock for some people, but I'm just saying QPR because without Eze, their star man, I don't really see a goal threat from them and their team just doesn't look that good. They've got a couple of decent players, but I don't think they're going to have a great season this season. Now coming in at 19th is Wickham Wanderers. Now I'm predicting them to stay up because I think with Gareth Ainsworth and some of the players that they've got, they've just signed Daryl Horgan, I think it is. Quite a decent player, I quite like him. He's playing on the wing. And they'll do quite well, Wickham, this season, in my opinion, for their expectations. I think they'll stay up with Gareth Ainsworth. Now, coming in at 18th, I've predicted Bristol City. I think they're going to struggle this season coming. You know, they've had a couple of decent seasons, just missing out on the playoffs. But I think this season's going to be tough for them, obviously, without Johnson. And I think they're going to struggle without him. They're going to be trying to find their feet without him. Coming in at 17th, I've predicted Middlesbrough. The reason for this, Middlesbrough last season struggled to find solid form. I think they'll do it again this season. They'll struggle to find solid form under Neil Warnock. They do need a couple more additions for them to be pushing higher up the table, in my opinion. Neil Warnock's a decent manager. They won't get relegated under him, but I think they'll be just trying to find their feet under him. Coming in at 16th, I've predicted Huddersfield. Huddersfield had a bit of a shaky season last season, first season back from the Premier League, and they had a bit of a shaky one. I think it will regain a bit more momentum this season coming, but I still don't think they'll be great this season. They've got a couple of very decent players, but I just don't think they'll do it this season. Coming in 15th place, I've put Reading, a team that every season seemed to have a bit of decent form at one point, but just a bit shaky overall. Reading, they'll be middle of the pack in my opinion, around there. They're a decent side on the day, but you can beat them. That's what I just see with Reading. Coming in at 14th, I've got Stoke. Now, I did want to put Stoke a bit higher. You know, they've got a very decent squad, in my opinion, but they just never seem to hit it off with that squad. They don't seem to gel, and I don't think that will happen this season. I think they'll find a bit of decent form, and they'll perform quite well in parts, but overall, I just don't think they'll have enough to get into the top half of the table. 13th place, I've put Coventry. I think a lot of people have got that feel-good feeling about Coventry. I just think they're going to have a bit of a decent season. They've got a couple of decent players in there. Obviously, players are leaving Coventry to go to different clubs, but they've got some decent players in there. And I think they'll have a feel-good first season, and they'll do quite well and shock quite a few of us and finish decently high up the table. Getting into the top half of the table now, 12th, I've put Millwall. Under Gary Rowett, Millwall are a very decent side, but I just want to highlight the quality of players. They're going to need just a bit more quality to add depth to that squad if they're going to push for the playoffs. I think they'll have a couple of pushes. You know, they'll be in and around the playoffs for parts of the season. I'm thinking around Christmas time they'll be in there. But overall, I just don't think they'll have the legs to stay in there. 11th, I've put Blackburn. A very decent team there, Blackburn, and they can find form. And on the day, they're a decent side. But overall, once again, like Millwall, I just don't think they'll have the legs. And coming up against some of the more quality opposition, I don't think they'll be able to beat them. In 10th place, I've put Preston. A decent manager and a decent squad of players, but overall, like we see with Preston every season, they just don't have enough to get in the playoffs. I do think January will be big for them. If Preston decide to spend a bit of money, they might be able to get a couple of decent players through the door, and they might have a late promotion push for the playoffs. But overall, once again, I'm going to predict Preston. They're going to finish outside the playoffs in 10th. This 8th and 9th spots, I think they can mix around and shuffle a bit, but I've put in 9th place Swansea. Swansea, they've got some decent players. Andre Ayew, a very quality player. Obviously, they finished in the playoffs last season, Swansea. I think they're going to lose a couple of their key players, which will hinder them in trying to finish in the playoffs. So that's why I've predicted them 9th. And in 8th, I've predicted their rivals, Cardiff. Cardiff do have some very decent players. Obviously, they finished in the playoffs last season. They just couldn't go and get to Wembley. And I think it'll be the same sort of story for Cardiff, like with Swansea. They're going to lose some key players, such as Neil Etheridge. I'm hearing rumours of him going to Birmingham or another club. And I just think they're going to lose some key players, and they won't be able to do it against quality opposition to beat them to finish in the playoffs. Now, these next positions, you're going to have to bear with me. Is there a little bit of bias on where I've put my side? Yeah, come on, of course there is. In 7th, I've put Nottingham Forest. Now, the reason for this is I do think Forest have a decent team, but I just don't know whether they're going to gel enough to be able to finish in the playoffs. We saw what happened last season to Nottingham Forest. They capitulated at the end of the season and they got found out. And Nottingham Forest have to learn from their errors from last season. I do believe they will, but overall in the long run, I just don't think they're going to do it. In 6th place, I've put my team, Derby County. I know controversial between the Derby and Nottingham fans over who they're going to say is the better side. And I do think those positions could switch. I'm not sure, but it's just going to have to see. The January transfer window is massive for my club, Derby County. We're definitely going to have to bring in some additions to strengthen that team. We've got a decent team as it is. You know, we've got the blend of youth and experience through Wayne Rooney, Max Bird, Mike Tawiri coming in. But I do think we can make the playoffs this season if we don't get too many injuries and we can get some signings in January. If we do get an attacker before now and the end of the window, then I do think we will finish in the playoffs. Now in 5th, this is a bit of a shock one. I'm putting Birmingham City. Now I've got a good mate who's a Birmingham fan, so I see a lot of their news, a lot of their transfer business, just stuff going on with the club. And looking at it, it does look quite exciting for Birmingham City fans. Aitor Karanka is a very good manager at this level. We all know what he did with Middlesbrough, and they became a really, really tough side to beat. And I think Birmingham City will become that now. They're signing a couple of decent players, getting some new players through the door, and it's going to look decent for them in my opinion. Aitor Karanka sets up a very solid side, and I think we could see Birmingham City become a dark horse of this season and finish in the playoffs. Whether they'll go all the way and do it, I'm not sure, but I do think they have the ability to finish in the playoffs. In 4th place, I'm putting Watford. Now, the 3 teams who have come down from the Premier League, they've got bags of Premier League quality players. Watford I'm putting there because I think, you know, they're going to have the Premier League quality, but I do think they'll get found out by a couple of sides lower down the division. Actually, no, it's going to be a story of where the teams lower down the division beat the teams that are higher up in the division. I think that'll be the same with Watford. They'll do well against the teams around them, but lower down they'll struggle. So I'm putting them 4th. In 3rd place, I'm putting the playoff final losers, Brentford. You know, I think they've got a lot of quality in that team. They've just signed Ivan Toney, a quality striker. They've still got Ollie Watkins as of recording this video. But I just think they're going to get found out a bit more this season. There's a lot tougher opposition coming up this season as well, with the 3 teams coming down from the Prem, like I've mentioned. So I think Brentford will once again finish in the playoffs. Now the top 2 is 2 of the teams who come down from the Premier League. I know it's a bit boring, but it's hard not to predict that. So coming in at 2nd, I'm putting Bournemouth. Bournemouth, like I've said, have got quality Premier League players. It's all about them keeping hold of them. And if they have a good January, then they'll probably go and smash the league. But I'm putting them at 2nd because the team who I've put at top, Norwich, I just think are a very good side. Norwich have got some very good players in there, and looking at the squad, it's just got bags of depth and bags of Premier League quality players. So I just think they're going to do well in this division this season, Norwich, and once again win it. So there's my championship predictions. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe. I might also do predictions for the Premier League or the Scottish Premier League, Scottish Championship, stuff like that. Just let me know what you want to see, and I'll see you in the next one.